Processing the most triggering breakup I've had in 9 years.
What? What do you mean you're breaking up with me? I'm processing the most triggering breakup I've had in 9 years.
I mean, how else is she supposed to find a new victim? Excuse me. Boyfriend. Welcome back, beautiful and amazing human beings. My name is Luke Radowski here of We Are Change.org, and there's a lot of absolutely bewildering and wild news to get into, as it looks like we have the next big coincidence that the U.S. government was financing, weaponizing, and manipulating to be used against you. Is it being used now? Well, we're going to be talking about that, plus all the latest geopolitical developments as the situation in Ukraine and the Middle East definitely is becoming more and more tumultuous. What's going on as Iran is describing how they're now under attack? Well, we're going to be talking about that, plus a lot more, all here on this independent media broadcast. If you like the shirt that I'm wearing, you could get it on thebestpoliticalshirts.com. And the clip that we played in the beginning of this broadcast looks like it was made by influencers in the wild on Instagram. We're going to be doing our best to try to track down this amazing, satirical, hilarious Instagram user that pretty much nailed this one chick's breakup that, of course, she is monetizing and exploiting for her own personal benefit. In related exploitation news, today we are also finding out that the New York City MTA is now demanding people who ran the New York City Marathon now have to pay a toll for running across the bridge, demanding $750,000 in what the New York Post is describing as their latest money-grubbing schemes. This as now the MTA is threatening to restrict the use of the Verrazano Bridge, where the New York City Marathon starts, an event that, by the way, nearly generates $500 million for New York City. And what did you expect from big, fat, bureaucratic welfare queens in the New York City public works system that under, of course, Bidenomics are trying to, of course, pay for the larger destruction and replacement of the local population? This, as that's been one of the strategies, according to some political pundits, of Joe Biden, that the former president of the United States is now accusing of being higher than a kite during his State of the Union address, as now Donald Trump is demanding drug tests for the upcoming potential presidential debates that could be happening here in the United States between him and Joe Biden, as Donald Trump is bringing back reports of illegal substances that have been recently found at the White House, as according to the latest polls, a lot of people are remembering Donald Trump more for, quote, improving the economy, as a lot of very serious questions loom about the state of the U.S. petrodollar and its hegemony on the world. All of this as there might potentially be another outbreak, another sickness that could go all around the world and, of course, absolutely eviscerate and destroy our financial futures if the Democrats don't get a chance to do it that quickly enough. This as today we're also finding out about the outbreak of tuberculosis at a Chicago migrant center. There's also cases of measles going around, as of course when you have huge sums of people being trafficked and illegally entering the United States, you usually have a lot of camps. You usually have a lot of very unsanitary situations. You put all of those people together, especially in one major building, and you could definitely expect some different sicknesses to spread from the larger Democratic push for them to stay in power forever. As today, we're also finding out about bird flu, that according to some scientists could be 100 times worse than the previous sickness that was released on the general public about 3 to 4 years ago. As now, once again, we're hearing from the health experts that we are facing another major critical health scare that, quote, is right on the horizon, as there is already one documented case of H5N1 avian flu that has been found in a new strain in Texas, as there's a documented case of transmission between a cow and a farmer. Now, a virus that affects mammals, particularly cows, one of the most delicious forms of sustenance and food for the American people, that could also hop over to human beings, highlights, in my opinion, what I would call a Bill Gates wet dream. This, as ABC News Today is reporting, that now there are 2 cases on the record, according to the CDC, of this particular bird flu that now has been identified and tracked down to Texas. As of course, bird flu was first detected in 1996 from birds in China, and there have been different particular cases of different strains of this sickness spreading and affecting people. In 1997, there was an outbreak in Hong Kong that had 18 human cases, 6 of which passed away. We also had a very similar scare in 2021, where the sickness was detected in wild birds, leaving 80 million birds affected in almost all states. This, as there's reports that mountain lions, seals, raccoons, polar bears, red foxes, skunks, all could deal with this sickness, as it is rarely documented in human infections, as now we're hearing a lot about these 2 particular cases from almost all of the corporate media, that almost as if they're working in tandem here is repeating the same kind of lines. What you need to know about the risk of bird flu outbreak, NPR writes, with their second sentence into this article saying, quote, "There's a heap of unknowns right now." Not really telling us what we need to know there, NPR, as they absolutely are just a horrible trash pile of a stinky news organization that isn't even collecting news as much as it is promoting propaganda. As Reuters is now reporting about the lack of immunity that raises a lot of fears and concerns about a repeat of the 2021 sickness that, of course, spread all around the United States and the entire world. This, as U.S. Congressmember Thomas Macy took to social media and pointed out something that the corporate media was talking about a few months ago, but oddly now, ABC News and NPR aren't bringing up the fact that the United States, along with the Chinese, were working on making bird flu strains more infectious and deadly, a part of a multi-million-dollar project. This, as they were conducting gain-of-function research, as announced just this February alone. And now in April, we got a new strain of bird flu that is now affecting some human beings. You would think that would be something you need to know, NPR. You would think, ABC News, that would be a part of something that you would need to know here. But, of course, the corporate media absolutely fails when it comes to pointing out anything against the corporate media establishment that usually doesn't want you paying attention to what's really going on here. As of course, this is a major article with the United States officially working with China, just like they did a few years ago, about the sickness that we can't even mention here on this particular YouTube channel. You see the parallels here. You see the similarities here that unfolded just a few years ago, as the United States was working on very serious gain-of-function research that many scientists warn is extremely reckless and dangerous, because that work will literally create sicknesses and viruses in this world that would never naturally be made or produced. And with very poor safety standards in China, and a lot of sanitary and sanitation protocols absolutely not being followed, as even many U.S. intel reports document lax safety procedures and protocols. What are we doing here? Literally spending money, weaponizing sicknesses and viruses with the Chinese, with the Chicoms? Are you kidding me? As of course, the Chinese government plays a role in almost every single private enterprise inside of its own country, and we're using our own tax dollars to go over there to weaponize sicknesses and viruses that could potentially be used for biowarfare purposes. As of course, that's probably exactly what is going on here. As the Daily Mail wrote, there are fears that these tests could unleash the sickness that was just unleashed in a very similar way just a few years ago. Now, this is what the USDA is doing. Imagine what the CIA is also doing here when it comes to facilitating and experimenting with these risky procedures that a lot of mainline scientists even agree have no medical or scientific purpose at all to them, other than potentially weaponizing these pathogens, viruses, and illnesses for, of course, geopolitical purposes. This, as Dr. Fauci, who absolutely failed throughout his entire career stopping health epidemics, has been warning that, of course, Things like the bird flu could affect half of the world's population that could potentially die from it. This, as Dr. Fauci has been one of the individuals facilitating a lot of this kind of very reckless, dangerous gain of function work. And again, we've been hearing about this for a while, especially on the corporate media. 2005, 2006. They were warning, everyone's going to die, as a lot of the government's kind of reactions and procedures in response to this flu, according to Jeffrey Tucker, is, quote, egregious and unscientific. As of course, don't worry, this administration definitely has their priorities straight when it comes to white fragility, microaggressions, and misgendering, as Biden's new FDA guidelines have come out, specifically giving out instructions about DEI. Yes, you heard that correctly. The Biden administration is making sure that people at the FDA that are supposed to be doing their job, keeping us safe, are reminded about the importance of Black Lives Matter and the dangers of misgendering. But don't worry, if the federal government fails, our medical industrial complex absolutely has our best interest at heart. Nope. They're literally creating Band-Aids with cancer-causing forever chemicals, as the Daily Mail is reporting, that Johnson & Johnson is one of many companies that have shown to have cancer-causing forever chemicals found in their Band-Aids that go directly into your blood through open wounds, as they detailed how 65% of Band-Aids contained fluorine, a necessary component of PFAs. PFAs, forever chemicals that, according to some studies, risk the rise of thyroid cancer by 56%. So yeah, there's that. We're screwed. But you might not be as screwed if, of course, you're a follower of LukeUnfiltered.com, because if you were a follower of LukeUnfiltered.com a few years ago during a very crazy, tumultuous time in our current history right now, you were able to make the right decisions about your own body, your own bodily autonomy, and your own personal decisions that actually have paid off to a lot of members of LukeUnfiltered.com who thank me for informing them about a specific dangerous procedure that they were given a lot of important information about before it even came out, that allowed them to make a right crucial decision when everyone was peer pressuring them and telling them to take it. Again, LukeUnfiltered.com. If you haven't signed up yet, we greatly appreciate you guys signing up. It means the world to us. It's quick, it's easy, it's simple. And again, we're doing a lot of really cool stuff. We're going to be doing another podcast right after probably this video. When that happens, you could be a part of the conversation. You could call in and you could be a part of the show just by signing up to LukeUnfiltered.com, going to the Telegram channel. As, of course, we're also organizing a nature hike, which soon we will be telling you the date of here in Southern Florida. That nature hike, plus some really cool stuff, all available for members of LukeUnfiltered.com. We're going to be touching grass. We're going to be doing some really cool, awesome stuff. You could be a part of it right now just by simply signing up right now on LukeUnfiltered.com. Click the link in the description below right now. Click here and you can join for $8, $15, $99. We got a lot of offers of value for you as members here, and we greatly appreciate all of your support, which is desperately needed right now during very difficult times that we are going through. Again, your support more crucial than ever. We can't thank you guys enough for your support. Sign up right now on LukeUnfiltered.com, and we will see you there right after this broadcast. Of course, we're not done here, as there's a lot of other kind of concerning geopolitical news that also deserves to be talked about, as Joe Rogan came out and said that his understanding of nuclear weapons is absolutely terrifying, as, of course, a lot of countries possess this massive destructive superpower and routinely threaten to use it. One of those individuals that, of course, routinely threatens to use it is the president of Russia, that hints at their nuclear capabilities, but also, more importantly, is preparing his country to become one of the most nuclear-prepared countries in the world, as Vladimir Putin is literally running simulations on how their country would run with 1/3 of its population. They're also moving a lot of their nuclear weapons. They're also prepping them. They're also making sure that they work, as, of course, there is an ongoing proxy conflict right now between Russia and Ukraine that, of course, is essentially standing behind the United States, that is supporting Ukraine and giving it everything in order to fight this larger fight against Russia. This as the Russian embassy in the United Kingdom recently came out with a statement from the current president of Russia saying, quote, certainly, quote, Western countries are desperate to preserve their hegemony in today's rapidly changing world. Naturally, given our country's vast territory and abundant human and natural resources, they would not want to miss the opportunity to plunder Russia. As, of course, the Russian geopolitical point of view here is that NATO is coming and invading, as, of course, NATO is arguing that Russia is coming and invading, as the two opposing forces keep facing off in a very ever so dangerous situation that could enwrap the entire world in a global conflict. This as today, U.S. Congresswoman MTG is coming out and saying that the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, is potentially being blackmailed in order to, quote, push a larger deep state agenda, as there are articles detailing how Mike Johnson soon might be pushing through more military aid to Ukraine. As MTG reports, quote, he completely changed who he was, as there are major efforts to push through more billions of dollars to Ukraine. As it's fair to say that in Washington, D.C., there absolutely is a lot of blackmail going around. Is that the case with a politician that soon will be deciding how much money Ukraine gets? Well, probably, as of course, the war is a very dangerous one. As today, our Secretary of State, Anthony Blinken, came out and declared that Ukraine will become a member of NATO, something that Vladimir Putin just a few days ago described that, if happens, would pull us into, quote, a conflict with Russia, specifically detailing European countries that would be at war with each other, as the head of NATO also described that they must bring in Ukraine closer to NATO. And that situation definitely isn't going to get a lot more peaceful from here, as of course also in the Middle East, the situation is becoming more dangerous for the population there, as Iran is documenting that they are under attack from simultaneous strikes that have targeted 5 of their military bases inside of Iran, as the Iranian government is now accusing foreign intelligence services of launching these attacks on them and their headquarters, accusing them of destabilizing the region. This as Iran has promised to respond to the larger Israeli attacks against them inside of Syria that recently went after their own embassy and killed their own top generals. This as Biden is soon to have a phone call with Benjamin Netanyahu about the 7 aid workers that were eliminated in an airstrike by the IDF, which a lot of people question and contest to the true legitimate reasons of why it actually happened. Will Biden be able to stand up for himself? No. The guy could barely walk. Will he be speaking for the best interest of the American people? No. He's a man of the special interest group. What will the situation unfold with Iran now promising to strike against Benjamin Netanyahu and his military forces? Well, I don't know. But it's not going to be a good one. Situation in Ukraine is not good. Situation in the Middle East not good. Situation with our health stuff and China, with the United States working with them, weaponizing pathogens, viruses, not a good one. So with all this crazy crap around you, at least make sure that you're good. Try to take care of yourself. Seriously, this is why I've been on a big kind of health kick bender within the last few years, because there's a war on for your health. And if you're not taking care of it, and if they're going to release some other crazy-ish nonsense, you just got to make sure that you could survive it. And that's the best thing we could do. Take care of yourself. Love your loved ones. Try to not live in stress. Be aware of what's going on. Don't be a victim of it. And most importantly, be the change that you want to see in this world. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you guys subscribing to lukeunfiltered.com. Because you do that, that's why I am still here. I love you guys. Stay tuned for more here on wearechange.org.